Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen, and dear students. Last session, we had been discussing the concept of capabilities as part of the resource-based view, and we had been able to distinguish between the strategic resources that the firm has, which includes both the tangible and the intangible assets. And we had suggested that tangible assets normally are copyable, therefore they may not be the source of competitive advantage. If you recall, we had said that those resources are of significance in terms of the competitive advantage theory, which create value, which are non-imitable. That means they cannot be copied. They are found to be rare, and the organization's support can help them to evolve and develop. Now, keeping that point in mind, most of the tangible resources do not fit with that logic. Yes, sometimes a raw material source, if it is exclusive and it cannot be available to another competitor, could be considered as a strong source for competitive advantage. However, these kind of resources are still, it is possible to be able to, for the competitors to acquire that. And in that, I had also given you some examples whereby a company which is an incumbent company has been in the business for a long period of time, has a very strong brand and has strong promotional campaigns, and the product that is, let's say, the juices is in the star position, and it is now going to be attacked, or another entrant is trying to move in, and this entrant has a source of raw material within itself as it produces pulp, which is normally bought by these fruit producing and fruit juice packaging units. So therefore, there was a competitive advantage, but this kind of a competitive advantage only lasts so long as the competitor cannot acquire a similar strategic resource. It is on this ground that I had suggested that most of the capabilities, which are very difficult to imitate, which are very difficult to copy, they are developed through the processes of the organization, and therefore they become exclusive to that specific organization. They tend to have a more genuine status of a strategic resource for competitive advantage. And while I was discussing that, I tried to explain to you that we understand that there are these strategic resources, but we also need to know where do they exist within a firm. And for this purpose, I had drawn a chart, a map on the chart, which was value chain analysis as given by Michael Porter, who had actually suggested in the 80s where the sources of competitive advantage will lie within an organization. Now, the reason why he had suggested that was because all activities, all processes are within the organization, and logic suggests that all capability frameworks normally are fitted within the organizational activities, processes, behaviors, and they are integrated under certain logic. And that logic comes out of the business strategy that we have, the competitive strategy, which is put into position. And it is this integration of knowledge between our activities across these value chain points, which creates the real capability or the essence of what could be the distinctive capability that is capable of creating and sustaining competitive advantage. Within the same discussion, I had also suggested that in its own form, when it was developed, this resource-based view, it was basically a static theory in terms of that it was assumed that certain resources were available with the company, or let's say certain capabilities were available with the company, and all the company had to do was to look at these resources and try to match these with the market requirements or the environmental needs. So the point was that, number one, the company had to understand where the resources or capabilities lie, and then try and look into the market and try and find out where could it fit with. Now, this complicates the issue a little bit. It complicates the issue on two forms. Number one, it suggests that there is no change within the capability framework of the organization. That is why I called it a little static. And number two, it required to be able to assess and judge, and most probably, if I were to say that the managers would normally tend to hit and try to fit the internal logic with the external frame, because the logic was not across the lines, it was based on the internal capability frame, and then we were trying to look at where could it fit. Now here is where I think we will complete the session today and finish the discussion so far as capabilities are concerned. And in this area, I had actually told you that a dynamic capability concept was introduced. Now, there is something called distinctive capability framework, and we are trying to suggest that there is another framework, which is the dynamic capability framework. Now, the difference between the two suggests that the dynamic capability framework is constantly in contact with the external environment, and it uses the external environment to keep rejuvenating, जिसको हम कहें कि वो तजदीद करती जाती है of the capabilities that the organization has. And therefore, there is a need of cross the firm boundaries to be able to continuously develop capabilities that will continuously fit with the requirements of the market. Now, here is where I think we will be introducing 2 points. One is the key success factor concept, because logic says that we need to understand where should the capability fit. Now, like I said in the initial logic of the discussion, where we have internal capabilities and we keep looking for place or points where it can fit and create that strategic fit that we were talking about, that strategic fit now can be seen in a better form if we will be able to understand the key success factors requirement of the market. If we have that capability to be able to judge what are the key success factors of an industry, of a business, of a segment, or a competitive situation, it will become easy for us to continuously watch those key points and continuously innovate those capabilities in the shape of a dynamic capability concept. And if we can then continuously leverage these points, these capability points into the market and align them with the key success factors, by doing that, we will be able to continuously sustain the competitive advantage in comparison or in competition with a competitor. But we will never ignore the point that where we are looking for these key success factors, we are also not eliminating or ignoring the point that the customers are the final people who will be able to say whether the value creation proposition that has been done through this linkage between capability and the key success factor is of value to them, and that value reflection will come into position using the logic of the willingness to pay. Now, to be able to give you a brief, I had also talked to you about Zara Textiles, a company which is in the fashion industry, which tries to create fashion every 15 days. They have a very specific capability of locating designs by putting their designers in all university areas in the fashion districts around the world, from where communication technology supports them of bringing in the design frames from around the world. As we know that Paris, Italy, America, England, all the other Western European countries, including the Far East, including Japan, China, Singapore, Malaysia, these are the locations where fashion grows. And these people in the Zara textile designing departments are located around the world. And the way they fit in with this logic is they are able to communicate these new design requirements from around the world to the central locations where the final decisions on designs are taken rapidly, and then they are put into position with the production systems where the latest technology machines immediately convert these designs into finished products. These finished products, therefore, are then shipped to the retail outlets. And a key factor in these retail outlets shipment is that they are not plastic packed, which means they are not required to be opened or ironed and then put on the shelves. They are actually moved through the system already on hangers, so that then when they land up with when they dock with their retail shops, which are located in high streets, which is fashion streets, these are taken directly into the shops. And they are already pre-hung, so they are ready for inspection by the customers the minute they arrive. And I told you that their customers are youth, which is very much into fashion, and they like to change their fashion designs or the way the fashion they wear. So there is a need, you can see that now, if you look at it, that there is a fashion need of the customers. They are not very high priced, they want to have medium priced. They normally shop at fashionable streets or fashionable locations. These logics of that market is being used by the company, and the key success factor that they have been able to develop out of this logic is speed of response to the fashion design requirement. Now, the speed of the response in the fashion design market becomes a key success factor. Therefore, what is the key success factor? It is the response of the requirement of designing rapidly. Now, that is one single key success factor which comes out of the needs of the market, and then the capability that the company has been able to develop over a period of time is how to locate their designers in all the international markets, from where through technologies, communication technologies, they are assimilated in their central design frameworks, where rapidly the designs are finalized and put into the production system. Now, again, think about it, because the logistics speedy response to the fashion markets, therefore even their delivery system, which is obviously a logic of inventory management, transportation, logistic, all fit in. Now, this is a pretty complicated framework, and therefore these complicated frameworks are very difficult to be copied by another competitor. Though we understand that these are the activities which would be required to be performed, but Zara, which has been in the business for a longer period of time, is continuously improving this capability. So whenever a competitor tries to catch up, they already moved ahead of the framework. And therefore, the end result of these two, their capability frame is, number one, they can provide the same quality framework at cheaper prices, obviously because they have learned so much. Second, that they can create value another competitor cannot provide, and this value is where the customer is willing to pay a higher price. Now, this actually is the logic of what we said, the dynamic capability framework within the resource-based view, and this tends to give dynamism and gives the recognizes the issue that companies need to continuously evolve their capability systems. We are clear that in the latest framework, that is 2013, 2012, the information flow is tremendous. Even from the customer requirements or the customer needs are so vast that this whole information has to be from some logic, has to be understood, has to be interpreted, and then the company has to respond on this interpretation of this information. To be able to do this, certain capabilities are constantly visible, but there are other capabilities which work in a hidden manner. Now, this hidden manner, where the source of competitive advantage may lie, is what we have termed as the competitive advantage, the logic of non-knowledge of where the true source lies. So we normally tend to call this as ambiguity, source ambiguity, which means कि जो source है competitive advantage का, वो clear नहीं है, वो ambiguous है, छुपा हुआ है. To be able to now, as a good marketer or a good strategic marketing manager, we need to be able to break these surface points. Now, here is where I would like to add another concept which moves in, which is within the context of resource capability, which is within the context of capability framework, distinctive capability, and that is called core competence. Now, there is a distinction between the concept of core competence and the distinction between distinctive capability. Like I said, Zara has a distinctive capability when it tries to locate itself against the key success factor in the market, which is a fast response to the fashion industry, speedy response systems. But core competency becomes another critical point. Now, core competency you need to understand from the point of view of what creates success in the company. Or let's put it this way, that what is that thing that was repeatedly done? Obviously, that repeatedly done thing would become the capability which is at the core of the strategy that the company is implementing. Now, that core competence, as we will go along discussing strategies, particularly the logic of outsourcing the capabilities, we will come to this point, but we need to build that concept here today, and that is the core competence concept. The core competence suggests that companies normally tend to rely on one or two very special capabilities, and in doing so, they constantly are able to be successful in the market. That means they are constantly using the same logic of their capability and transfer that capability into a number of businesses and a number of systems. And this is also the logic which will be applied when we talk about strategies in terms of diversification strategies or backward integration or forward integration or horizontal integration. Therefore, core competence, I'll be coming back, but before I come back to it, let me try and show the various integrative frameworks, and I will try and locate it within the concept of Zara and the value chain. So when I was talking about Zara, I had suggested to you in their strategic framework and their various activities that they had been performing, and I had tried to locate it on a chart. Now I'm going to try, like I said, to convert that chart into the value chain framework and try and integrate certain points. Now, if you recall, there would be up 2 or 3 processes that I can suggest to you so that you have it in mind when I am drawing these. There will be a requirement of the material, the raw material that has to be brought into position when the clothes or the fashion clothes are being produced. So there will be an inbound logistics required by Zara. And as I had drawn the framework, if you recall, so the clothes or the raw material has to be brought into position for production process. So they have to now think about it, that they are supposed to respond to the environment in, let's say, 15 days time frame. And in that 15 days, what is happening is that the designers sitting around the world are communicating to their production systems, which includes here as well as the R&D, and let's put that this R&D is actually the designing framework. Okay, so this designing department, which are going to establish the whole frame, the information has to flow into this. So the whole R&D, which is located around the world as well as centrally located here, are creating the design. Now this design has to respond to also the raw material requirements. So raw material has to be brought into position immediately when the design is being confirmed. So you can understand how the two have to be connected. So there must be some kind of a framework where whatever design requirement is being developed, naturally they will also establish what kind of cloth has to be moved in, what kind of systems have to be put to position, what kind of, let's say, the buttons that are to be used, whatever stitching requirements are to be put into position. That has to be communicated to those people who will be supplying that material. And that will be moving in rapidly to the inbound logistic, where they will be put into inventories, but the inventories will not be for a very long period of time. It will be very short-run inventories. Now, immediately they reach in the inventories, rather than holding them there, they are going through the process of production, and these production processes, like we had suggested, are going to be located with the highest technology products, highest technology machines actually. So the production processes will require that speed with which these designs, the raw material converts into fashion, clothes, and are moved into the outbound logistics frame. So we get outbound logistics moving in here. But at the same time, marketing is already working at it because they've already created a brand image within the system. Here we have the marketing going on, where the brand image is so strongly established over a period of time. And even here, the logic of this marketing relates to location of the retail, their target segments, their price. Now, all this is already into position. The location of the retail, like I said, it is located in high streets. Target segment is chic. Chic is actually young, upcoming, rich people who are very cool in their styles. They like to design a dress in fashion, but they don't want to pay a heavy amount of money because they want to change their designs, their clothes regularly for partying, for all sorts of things. And then the price is not very costly. They are medium range price. And all this has to have a logic. Now, therefore, marketing has developed a brand image which says, if you don't buy the product today, what will happen is that after 15 days, you will not have the product lying in the shelves, on the shelves. So the marketing has already created that hype. Obviously, after sales service, there may not be so much after sales service, but whatever after sales service requirements are there, the brand is being supported by that logic. However, there is also the logic of the organizational structure, which is part of, like I said, the secondary activities. Like I said, these are the primary activities, these are the secondary activities. So you have organizational structure, you have HRM, and any number of frameworks. But now I will connect all of these. Think about it, that marketing is actually looking at the target segment, and they are the ones which are actually defining the needs. This need framework, through the designing frame, is connected through various inventory framework models, like the retail location has a very high-speed information flow, which of the the fashion cloth or clothes have moved out of the retail shop, which are still lying there, to give us a feeling of what is the product that moves rapidly through the system. So that creates a very strong information framework. Now these are linked, and you can see that all these points, the rapid frame in which they get integrated is the one that actually creates the competitive advantage for Zara. But we cannot say that this is one point where they have been able to achieve that. However, they have been able to achieve that by repeatedly doing the same thing over and over again. And that speed with which they have been responding to the market, which includes all the capabilities, activities, processes that are part of the system, is actually what capability framework talks about. And here they have regularly been able to improve their system through the learning curve. Now, they learn from the market as rapidly as possible. They translate that rapidly learned frameworks through their response systems, and they are back in the market responding to the market requirements. Given these frameworks, I think I've been able to create a little bit of understanding or the sense of what is capabilities. But let me again repeat to you, because whatever we have been discussing and whatever I showed you on the chart, the central location of the strategy is determined by the competitive strategy, which is basically, most of the times, is based on the marketing logic of, typically in the Zara example, we will find that one of the key factors that supports this competitive strategy is the supply chain system, their communication system, which is the IT-based system they have. But the basic frame of who the target market is, what the needs of the target market is, what are the price settings, how the product is being positioned, and what kind of brand has been created, but brand personality आप कहें, brand associations जो उन्होंने create कर दिए, जिसके base पे एक message market में है कि if you do not buy the product within a time frame, ये product मिलेगा नहीं. या जो भी फैशन का प्रोडक्ट आया है वो चूंकि बहुत कम टाइम के अंदर रिटेल शॉप्स में रहता है, तो अगर वो खरीदा नहीं जाएगा तो जो नहीं खरीद सकेगा उसको वो मिलेगा नहीं. नाउ कीपिंग दैट पॉइंट इन माइंड, we can see that most of their other activities are coming in support of this core framework. और वो जो सपोर्ट एक्टिविटीज हैं वो इस कोर फ्रेमवर्क को अगर सपोर्ट ना करें तो देन कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज का सस्टेनेबिलिटी मुश्किल पड़ जाती है. नाउ कीपिंग दिस पॉइंट इन माइंड, वी आर नाउ गोइंग टू टेक अ लिटिल बिट ऑफ अ टर्न एंड लुक एट द कॉन्सेप्ट. मैंने कोर कॉम्पिटेंस की बात की थी. वी मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड ये ही कैपेबिलिटीज में कहीं से निकलता है. और आप अगर इसका एग्जाम्पल देखना चाहें तो होंडा को देख लेते हैं. होंडा एज ए कंपनी, उसकी कोर कॉम्पिटेंस उसकी इंजन टेक्नोलॉजी में बैठती है. उसकी वजह क्या है कि वो कोर कॉम्पिटेंस जो है उनकी, उसके बेस के ऊपर उन्होंने मुख्तलिफ किस्म के प्रोडक्ट्स मार्केट में लॉन्च किए हैं. तो कैपेबिलिटी उनकी इस कंडीशन के अंदर टेक्नोलॉजिकल है. और ये जो कोर कॉम्पिटेंस होता है ये नॉर्मली कॉरपोरेशंस के पास होती है, क्योंकि कॉरपोरेशंस ऐसी सिस्टम है जिसको मैंने आपको पहले भी बताया था. कॉरपोरेशंस एक्चुअली डिसाइड विच मार्केट टू गेट इनटू, विच बिजनेस टू एंटर, विच बिजनेस टू एग्जिट, उसमें कितना पैसा लगाना है, पोजीशन क्या लेनी है. तो वहां उनको पता होना चाहिए कि हमारी कोर कॉम्पिटेंस है क्या, और उस कोर कॉम्पिटेंस के बेस पे वो नई मार्केट्स भी तलाश करते हैं, नए बिजनेसेस ढूंढते हैं. कई दफा ये जो कोर कॉम्पिटेंसेस होती हैं ये टेक्नोलॉजिकली बेस्ड होती हैं, लेकिन कैपेबिलिटी फ्रेम में आती हैं. लेकिन चूंकि हम मार्केटिंग के हवाले से बात कर रहे हैं तो हमने पहले भी कहा था कि मार्केटिंग का फंक्शन क्या होता है कि वो ये देखे कि ये जो कोर कॉम्पिटेंस है टेक्नोलॉजिकल बेस्ड है या कोई और बेस्ड है, तो उसका इस्तेमाल बेहतरीन तरीके से किस बिजनेस में किस कस्टमर की नीड को सेटिस्फाई करने में इस्तेमाल होगा. नाउ जैसे मैंने कहा, अगर आप होंडा को देखते हैं तो होंडा ना सिर्फ मोटरसाइकिल्स के इंजन बनाता है, कार्स के इंजन बनाता है, वो मोटर बोट्स के इंजन बनाता है, वो स्कीइंग, आपने नाम सुना होगा, स्नो मोबिल्स होती हैं जो कि बर्फ पे, दे आर व्हीकल्स एक्चुअली, और वो व्हीकल्स बर्फ पे चलती हैं. वो स्नो मोबिल्स कहलाती हैं. दे आर मोर लाइक स्कूटर्स बट दे मूव ऑन स्लाइड्स. इसी तरह से उनके स्कूटर्स हैं जो समुंदर में इस्तेमाल होते हैं, उनकी मोटर बोट्स हैं. So their technology is their core competence, and their core competence is basically located in their engine technology. अब इंजन टेक्नोलॉजी को कहाँ इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा, कैसे इस्तेमाल किया जाएगा, this is the problem of strategic marketing. Where would you be able to locate the logic of all these competencies and capabilities and make the best use of it by creating a competitive advantage in the chosen market business. यहाँ जो चोजन मार्केट बिजनेस है वो हम अज्यूम कर रहे हैं कि डिसीजन है कि कहाँ जाना है. और जब हम किसी भी बिजनेस में एंटर करते हैं तो उसके लिए कुछ चीज़ें देखनी ज़रूरी होती हैं. यही मामला है कि जब हम किसी सेगमेंट में जाएंगे, तो अगर मैं बात करता हूँ बिजनेस की, तो द सेम लॉजिक कैन बी अप्लाइड टू द मार्केट सेगमेंट दैट वी माइट एंटर. आपने देखा होगा मार्केट्स की मुख्तलिफ रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं और मार्केट्स आर सेगमेंटेड on the basis of some need specificity. That means कोई specific need है, उसके बेस के ऊपर हम मार्केट को सेगमेंट कर सकते हैं. In the first instant we might enter a market because it is easy for us to logically leverage our capability and fit it with the key success factor within that segment. But in the next phase, when we want to do it again in a new environmental frame या a new segmental frame, we again must be able to understand कि वहाँ जो segment है उसकी key success factor क्या होगा. छोटी सी एग्जांपल देता हूँ और आई थिंक वी शुड बी एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड. अगर आप किसी इंट्रोडक्टरी प्रोडक्ट लॉन्च में हैं तो नॉर्मली जो बायर्स का सेगमेंट होगा वो होगा जो इनोवेटर्स कहलाते हैं. इनोवेटर्स वो लोग हैं जो पहली दफ़ा किसी भी प्रोडक्ट को अक्वायर करते हैं या उसका इस्तेमाल करते हैं. ना उनकी जो की सक्सेस फैक्टर है वो डेफिनेटली मुख्तलिफ होगा देन व्हेन द मार्केट बिकम्स मैच्योर. जब मार्केट मैच्योर आती है तो उसमें नॉर्मली जो लेट एंट्रेंट्स होते हैं मार्केट के अंदर वो उसमें दाखिल होते हैं, और लेट एंट्रेंस जो होते हैं वो नॉर्मली मास मार्केट्स में आते हैं, लेट आते हैं, तो उनकी जो नीड और रिक्वायरमेंट्स होती हैं वो फ़र्क होती हैं। ये हमारे जो इनिशियल कोर्सेज होते हैं इसके ऊपर डिटेल में डिस्कशन भी हुई होती है। नॉर्मली दीज आर टू कॉन्सेप्ट्स, वी विल कम टू इट व्हेन वी डिस्कस देम इन द प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट एरिया, बट जस्ट टू मेक श्योर दैट यू मेंटली आर अवेयर ऑफ इट। तो प्रोडक्ट लाइफ साइकिल का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है एंड प्रोडक्ट इनोवेशन डिफ्यूजन का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं जो मैं अभी इसका कल जिक्र कर रहा हूँ। प्रोडक्ट लाइफ साइकिल में इंट्रोडक्टरी फेज है, बट इनोवेशन की जो इंट्रोडक्शन होती है वो सिर्फ जो इनोवेटर्स होते हैं वो खरीदते हैं, फिर अर्ली मेजॉरिटी आती है, फिर लेट मेजॉरिटी आती है, लेट एंट्रेंस होते हैं, फिर लेगर्ड्स होते हैं। तो जैसे जैसे ये मार्केट में प्रोडक्ट डिफ्यूज होता है उसी के मुताबिक की सक्सेस फैक्टर्स इवॉल्व करते हैं। हर सेगमेंट के अंदर, हर मार्केट के अंदर की सक्सेस फैक्टर की एक नौयत है। जैसे मैंने कहा, जब प्रोडक्ट इंट्रोड्यूस होता है तो नॉर्मली लॉजिक में प्राइसेस ऊंची होती हैं। वाई? बिकॉज कॉस्ट रिकवरी की ज़रूरत होती है। मैं ये एवरेज की बात कर रहा हूँ, मैं स्पेशल स्ट्रैटेजी की बात नहीं कर रहा। तो वहाँ चूंकि कॉस्ट रिकवर करनी होती हैं और सिर्फ वही लोग मार्केट में होते हैं जिनको उस चीज़ के अंदर इंटरेस्ट है, वो हायर अमाउंट पे करने के लिए तैयार होते हैं। सो देयर चार्ज ऑफ हायर प्राइस इज लॉजिकल। But as the market starts getting the early entrants moving in, obviously marketing expenditure is going up, competitors are going to move into the same time frame. So उस वक्त लॉजिक कहता है कि प्रमोशन पे ज़्यादा फोकस हो जाता है, प्राइस थोड़ी सी गिराई जाती है so that it is more competitive with the market environments, and so and so forth. So the key success factor in the second phase becomes promotion and advertising oriented rather than product oriented, which is in the initial stage. So जो key success factor है वो पहले product characteristics के ऊपर focus रखा जाएगा, then in the later stage when you move into the market, promotion, brand development, उनके ऊपर focus हो जाएगा। तो key success factor जो है वो shift करेंगे, और जैसे जैसे key success factor shift करेंगे, हमारी logic भी यही कह रही है कि capability requirement भी shift करेगी। In the initial stage, we are more focused on production, the technology, the processes to create that innovative product which will be required in the market. But as we move from early majority to late majority, जब competition ज़्यादा हो जाएगा, mass production हो रही होगी, तो economies of scales की requirement बढ़ जाएंगी. So capability to produce with economies of scale and rapidly moving the product to the markets, spreading your product through retail outlets, so you will have to have a larger logistical support, distribution channels established. तो वो capabilities shift कर रही हैं. Now, given these 2 points, I think you should be now more understandable of the concept of capabilities, strategic resources, how they interact with the key success factor in the market. By the way, it's just not that I'm just mentioning it. I will be taking up a special session on how to discover these key success factors, because in my understanding, there is a very little literature available in the books कि जो ये बताएं कि key success factors होते क्या हैं और उनको understand कैसे किया जाता है. Normally, we assume that key success factors are known, और यहाँ key success factors को क्या नाम है उसके अंदर एक confusion create कर दी जाती है या होती है, which we might like to eliminate from our logic, कि critical success factors क्या होते हैं और key success factors क्या होते हैं. Now, these 2 points I will take into a critical debate. I'll take one session on it. लेकिन याद रखने की चीज़ ये है कि key success factors हमारी इस सेशन में या हमारे इस लेक्चर फ्रेम में key success factor का ताल्लुक इंडस्ट्री से है और critical success factor का ताल्लुक कंपनी के अंदरूनी मामलात से है. So, if I was to put it in a better form, I would say that critical success factors are the key sources, capability sources that are crucial for the company to continuously have to be successful. Or key success factors are located in the market with which these critical success factors will link up. Now, अगर हम ये बात समझ आ जाए तो फिर हमें जब हम क्या नाम है उस सेशन में जाएं जहां की सक्सेस फैक्टर के हवाले से बात होगी, तो वी शुड बी एबल टू ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड हाउ टू ट्राई एंड लोकेट दीज पॉइंट्स. क्रिटिकल कौन से हैं और की सक्सेस फैक्टर्स कौन से हैं। तो मैंने की में एक तो आपको हवाला दे दिया, वो है कोर कॉम्पिटेंस का। नेचुरली मैंने कहा कोर कॉम्पिटेंसीज आर नॉर्मली लोकेटेड एट द हायर एंड ऑफ द business, which are the corporate system area, where corporations, when they move into international markets, when they move into, let's say, new businesses, तो core competence की usage जो है वो is mandated. However, जो critical success factors की logic है वो कंपनी की capabilities में located है, और जैसे मैंने कहा उसका ताल्लुक dynamic capability से है. So if I can understand कि मेरे key success factor किसी एरिया में कौन से हैं और मेरी कंपनी में कौन से हैं, तो फिर मुझे उसको लोकेट करने के लिए कि मैं की सक्सेस फैक्टर किसके साथ टारगेट करूं, तो मेरे लिए सिंपल हो जाता है. टेक एन एग्जांपल, इन एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन आपके ख्याल में की सक्सेस फैक्टर कौन से हैं और क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर उस इंस्टीट्यूशन का कौन सा है? Without going into a long debate, if I was to say that faculty is one of the critical success factors of an institution or of an educational institution, so I don't think I will be making a big mistake. So that is why in most of the cases, when you locate your objectives and you locate your goals and aims, तो उसमें एक factor particularly educational institutions के लिए ये है कि we should be able to attract high quality faculty. Now, faculty becomes the critical factor of success for an educational institution, because that critical factor will attract whatever is going to happen in terms of need evaluation in the market. But key success factor क्या हो? अब key success factor उसी इंडस्ट्री में अगर देखा जाए तो वो, let's put it this way, कि जो स्टूडेंट निकलता है हायर एजुकेशनल सिस्टम से उसकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी इज द की सक्सेस फैक्टर, विच मीन्स कि अगर एक स्टूडेंट को जॉब जल्दी मिल जाती है तो वो उसकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी इज द की सक्सेस फैक्टर. अगर मैं अब दोनों चीज़ों को देखूं तो समझ आने की कोशिश कर सकते हैं कि क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर सपोर्ट करता है की सक्सेस फैक्टर ऑफ द इंडस्ट्री को. की सक्सेस फैक्टर इज employability and the wage or the salary that is given to a new entrant who has just come out of the educational institution. तो वो अगर की सक्सेस फैक्टर है तो उसका जो क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर उस इंडस्ट्री के उस कंपनी में होना चाहिए वो होंगे जो टॉप लेवल फैकल्टी होगी. तो अगर की सक्सेस फैक्टर एक है तो क्रिटिकल फैक्टर्स जो इन कंपनी में और एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन, मुख्तलिफ एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशन में होगा, तो जिसके पास बेहतरीन फैकल्टी होगी उसका स्टैंडर्ड, ऑब्वियसली उसकी एबिलिटी टू बी एबल टू क्रिएट वैल्यू इन द मार्केट विल बी हायर. तो लॉजिक हमारी, if we can look at it and we can understand the logic, it suggests that critical factors, and this is my proposition that we will try and use it. आप जब किताबें पढ़ें या जब आप आर्टिकल्स पढ़ेंगे तो आप नोट करेंगे कि इनको मुख्तलिफ तरीके से कहा जाता है. कई लोग क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर और की सक्सेस फैक्टर को एनानिमसली और यूनानिमसली और सिनोनिमसली यूज करते हैं. सिनोनिमस का मतलब है कि दे आर यूज्ड इंटरचेंजेबली, लेकिन हम कोशिश करेंगे कि इनको हम तोड़ें सो दैट वी कैन, व्हेन वी आर वर्किंग इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, व्हेन वी आर ट्राइंग टू लोकेट द लॉजिक, तो हम थ्योरी से निकल के प्रैक्टिस में जब आएंगे तो फिर हमारे पास कुछ क्लैरिटी होनी चाहिए. और ये क्लैरिटी उसी वक्त आएगी जब हम ये कहें कि की सक्सेस फैक्टर हम उसको इंडस्ट्री से लिंक करते हैं या बिजनेस से लिंक करते हैं या सेगमेंट से लिंक करते हैं, और क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर हम इंटरनल कंपनी के फ्रेम से लिंक करते हैं. क्योंकि जब हम आगे चल के स्ट्रैटेजिक टूल्स इस्तेमाल करेंगे, एनालिटिकल टूल्स को इस्तेमाल करेंगे या उनको समझने की कोशिश करेंगे, तो आप देखेंगे कि वहाँ दो किस्म के वर्ड्स इस्तेमाल होते हैं. एंड आई थिंक यू मोस्ट प्रोबेबली हैव रेड दैट इन योर प्रीवियस वर्क. IFE कहलाता है इंटरनल फैक्टर इवैल्यूएशन या इंटरनल फैक्टर एनालिसिस, अगर आप कहें IFA बोलें, और फिर EFE या EFA ये एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर एनालिसिस होता है. नाउ लॉजिक कहता है कि एक्सटर्नल फैक्टर एनालिसिस या इंटरनल फैक्टर एनालिसिस का मकसद क्या है? मकसद सिंपल है कि ये दोनों चीज़ें ढूंढने की कोशिश हो रही होती हैं कि की फैक्टर्स क्या हैं किसी एक्सटर्नल एनवायरनमेंट में, चाहे सेगमेंट हो, चाहे बिजनेस हो, चाहे क्या नाम है इन्वायरमेंट ऑफ द इकोनॉमी हो, तो हम उसमें की ढूंढते हैं। और क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर IFE के थ्रू हम ये देखने की कोशिश करते हैं कि जितनी भी कंपनीज हैं जो मुकाबले में हैं, जब हम कंपैटिटिव एनालिसिस करेंगे तो ये जो इंटरनल फैक्टर एनालिसिस या इवैल्यूएशन है, इसका इस्तेमाल होता है। और इसका इस्तेमाल इसी लॉजिक से होता है कि वो फैक्टर्स जो इंटरनली आपके पास हैं और कंपैटिटर्स के पास भी हैं, तो हम ये देखने की कोशिश करते हैं या मुआवजा करने की कोशिश करते हैं कि व्हाट्स द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द वेरियस कंपनीज। और ऑब्वियसली जिस कंपनी के पास जो ताकत ज्यादा होगी वही उसको लेवरेज करेगा फॉर द पर्पसेस ऑफ द की सक्सेस फैक्टर, और उसी को वो लेवरेज करके या उसको इस्तेमाल करके वो वैल्यू क्रिएट करने की कोशिश करेगा जो मार्केट में जिसकी रिक्वायरमेंट है। तो सिंपल सी बात जो क्या नाम है इस पूरे डिस्कशन से आती है वो ये है कि ये जो कॉन्सेप्ट्स हैं ये थ्योरी में तो हैं, लेकिन इनकी प्रैक्टिकल एप्लीकेशन है। सो वी शुड नॉट अज्यूम कि ये सिर्फ थियोरेटिकल डिस्कशन है। इस पे बहुत आर्टिकल्स लिखे हुए हैं, मैंने कुछ आर्टिकल्स को रेफर भी किया है आपके कोर्स आउटलाइन वगैरह में। तो इफ़ यू लुक एट दोज कोर्स आउटलाइंस एंड यू कैन पिक अप दोज पर्टिकुलर आर्टिकल्स रिलेटेड टू डिफरेंट थीम्स, तो उससे आपको थियोरेटिकल कॉन्सेप्चुलाइजेशन मिल जाएगी। लेकिन हमारी कोशिश ये होनी चाहिए कि इन थियोरेटिकल कॉन्सेप्चुलाइजेशंस को हम कन्वर्ट करें इन दी प्रैक्टिकल साइड ऑल्सो एंड सी हाउ दीज concepts and theories are linking within the logic of the practice. तो जैसे मैंने कहा, हमने IFE इंटरनल फैक्टर एवेल्युएशन या इंटरनल फैक्टर एनालिसिस या EFE करना है, वो जाकर भी होगा तो उसमें भी यही चीज़ें आती हैं। और फिर एक टॉपिक एरिया जो बहुत आई थिंक कंसिस्टेंटली अप्लाई करता है इन टीचिंग ऑफ स्ट्रैटेजीज एंड स्ट्रैटेजिक मैनेजमेंट and strategic marketing, even marketing management, even principles of marketing के अंदर, वो हम करते हैं SWOT analysis. अब again SWOT analysis की भी कोई logic है। SWOT analysis is actually a tool, और वो tool है strategy develop करने का। वो tool उसको अगर हम convert करें SWOT से TOWS में, तो हम उसको कहते हैं TOWS matrix. तो इधर SWOT analysis है, उधर TOWS matrix है। All these points are spread all over the system, but उसके नीचे कोई integrative frame हमें ज़रूर नज़र आना चाहिए। अगर नहीं नज़र आएगा तो हमारा जो यूजेज है, यानी कि उस टूल का जो इस्तेमाल करने की लॉजिक है या उस टूल को इस्तेमाल करने से जो हमें हासिल होना चाहिए, हम उसको लूज कर देंगे। अब अगर मैं इन्हीं बातों को दोबारा दोहराऊं तो ये स्ट्रेंथ एंड वीकनेस एनालिसिस basically is trying to understand and determine कि हमारी कैपेबिलिटी और रियल कैपेबिलिटी है कहाँ। आप देखेंगे जो अगर आपने ये काम किया हो, एनालिसिस भी की हो, प्रोजेक्ट्स किए होंगे, तो वहाँ नॉर्मली स्ट्रेंथ्स की एक लिस्ट आ जाती है। और मैंने आपसे कहा कि हर स्ट्रेंथ स्ट्रैटेजिक नहीं होती, तो लॉजिक में जो स्ट्रेंथ है वो वही होगी जो स्ट्रैटेजिक रिसोर्स होगी जिसके थ्रू हम कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज क्रिएट कर सकें। ना वो कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज आप क्रिएट नहीं कर सकते अगर आपने एनवायरनमेंट में जो की फैक्टर्स हैं उनको ना नोट किया हो। अगर वो नहीं नजर आते तो आप स्ट्रेंथ नहीं नोट कर सकते। तो ये अपने तौर पे सिर्फ एक कंपनी की रिपोर्ट पढ़ के और उसमें देखना कि जी इनकी फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ बहुत स्ट्रांग है, देयरफॉर दैट इज देयर की स्ट्रेंथ या देयर स्ट्रेंथ इज इलॉजिकल. So it becomes illogical, not that I am saying that it is to be totally rejected, but the logic what I am trying to propose is that ये जब तक हमें समझ ना आए कि ये जो फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ है हम इसको अप्लाई कहाँ करेंगे। मिसाल के तौर पे आर वी गोइंग टू अप्लाई थ्रू दी प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट प्रोसेस, और ये पैसा जो है न्यू प्रोडक्ट डेवलपमेंट में खर्च होगा, या इसको हम प्रमोशनल फ्रेम में लगाएंगे और प्रमोशनल कैंपेन लगाएंगे। लेकिन देखने की ज़रूरत ये है कि जो दूसरी कंपनी जो इनकम्बेंट है या जो कंपैटिटर्स हैं उनकी क्या पोजीशन है इसी मामले में। मिसाल के तौर पे मैंने एग्जांपल दी थी अबाउट अ कंपनी व्हिच इज इनकम्बेंट, व्हिच हैड अ स्टार प्रोडक्ट, व्हिच हैड डेवलप्ड अ वेरी स्ट्रांग ब्रांड, व्हिच हैड ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी व्हिच दे वर इन्वेस्टिंग on the other side, which they were investing in communication and in their advertising. On the other side, this company which is coming new into the market obviously also has financial strength, but kya ye financial strength is capable of overcoming the power of the other company which is already incumbent? ये क्वेश्चन अगर हम आंसर नहीं कर सकते तो सिर्फ ये अज्यूम करना कि कंपनी के पास स्ट्रेंथ है वो हमारे फोकस को शिफ्ट कर देगी। हमारी कोशिश ये होनी चाहिए टू लुक फॉर द की success factors in the market and critical strengths which are existing in the company which are in a comparative frame. अब अगर हम ये दोनों बातें क्या नाम है समझ लें तो फिर हमारी लॉजिक में आसानी आ जाती है। अदरवाइज वी आर गोइंग टू बी मोर कंफ्यूज्ड अबाउट स्ट्रेंथ्स क्या होती हैं और वीकनेसेस क्या होती हैं। नाउ अगर हम वीकनेसेस देखते हैं तो अगेन वीकनेसेस कैन नॉट बी सीन विदाउट लुकिंग एट द की सक्सेस फैक्टर। मिसाल के तौर पे कोई ऐसा की सक्सेस फैक्टर इंडस्ट्री में है जिसकी मिनिमल रिक्वायरमेंट होती है कि उसका होना लाजिम है और उसके ऊपर अगर हमारा अबूर हो उसकी सक्सेस फैक्टर को हम इफेक्टिवली टारगेट कर सकें और अपनी स्ट्रेंथ को लेवरेज कर सकें तो वो हमारे लिए कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज का जरिया बनेगा। बट इफ वी लुक एट इट फ्रॉम द अदर एंगल एंड वी ट्राई एंड सी कि वो क्रिटिकल स्ट्रेंथ्स में नहीं है हमारे पास, यानी कि वो चीज जिसके थ्रू हम उसकी सक्सेस फैक्टर को लेवरेज कर सकें या टारगेट कर सकें, अगर वो मिसिंग है तो वो हमारी वीकनेस बन जाती है। अब ये वीकनेस भी कंपैरेटिव भी हो सकती है और टोटली ना होना भी इसकी एक प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है। कंपैरेटिव में लेट्स से अगर एक कंपनी के पास उसी क्रिटिकल स्ट्रेंथ एरिया में स्ट्रेंथ ज्यादा है और हमारे पास कम है तो वी आर स्टिल वीक, बट दिस वीकनेस इज कंपैरेटिव which means we should be able to invest and bring this capability or competence to a parity level. However, agar wo ho hi na, so that means we need to acquire this new capability. Now, acquiring this new capability again is a concept. We cannot just have this capability within us, but iske पीछे फिर strategies आती हैं। कई strategies आपने देखी होंगी और मैं सिर्फ यहाँ again हवाला दे रहा हूँ to be able to understand कि ये जो स्ट्रैटेजी की बात मैंने की थी और हमने कहा था कि स्ट्रैटेजीज आर आल्सो अ सोर्स फॉर कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज, तो यहाँ इसकी नौयत समझ आनी शुरू होती है कि ये बनता कैसे है। कि स्ट्रैटेजी में अगर हमें नजर आती है कि हमारे पास एक क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर नहीं है और जिसको हम लिंक कर सकें किसी की सक्सेस फैक्टर से, तो उसके लिए भी हमें स्ट्रैटेजी डेवलप करनी पड़ती है कि हाउ विल वी एक्वायर इट। नाउ देयर आर अ नंबर ऑफ मेथड्स। वी कैन actually go into a joint venture, we can actually go into a strategic alliance frame, we can actually buy that capability or outsource that capability, one of the things. But these are all part of how strategies come into position when we are locating the key success factors, we are locating the critical success factor in relation to the key success factors, as well as the competitive advantage that we need to create. This logic of competitive advantage has to be understood within the context that I have explained. These are what we had been discussing today. So just to go back onto the board and explain to you what all that we have been able to do in carrying out this discussion, because in the next session we will be moving towards the strategic frame where competitive advantage can be created or developed, and strategies become a source. And I told you there that orientations are also a significant part of this logic. So over the next 2 or 3 sessions, we will be covering the strategic orientation, the strategy logic of creating the competitive advantage. But at this point, this is what we have been able to do. We have been able to discuss the distinctive capability frame. Distinctive capability, we have talked about the core competence. We have identified the logic of key success factors as against the critical success factors. Now, we have already identified that this is business or industry oriented and this is firm oriented. And I'm saying all this not as developing a new thought or a new concept, but what I'm trying to suggest is that we need to distinguish these points for our purposes. Because many times, like I've also explained to you, a number of authors you will read have used these synonymously. That means ये इसको replace कर लेता है, ये इसको replace कर लेता है. इसी तरह distinctive competence और core competence भी एक दूसरे से रिप्लेस हो जाती है। वो ठीक है, उन्होंने अपने तौर पे इसको देखा है। इन आर ओपिनियन, फ्रॉम आर पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, वी नीड टू ब्रेक दिस डाउन सो दैट वी आर एबल टू लोकेट देम। इसकी लॉजिक कहीं भी चेंज नहीं कर रही। लॉजिक वही रहती है कि डिस्टिंक्टिव और कोर कॉम्पिटेंस वही चीज़ें हैं जो कैपेबिलिटीज़ के बेस पे आती है, जिसकी वजह से कंपनी को सक्सेस मिलती है और कंपनी कैन क्रिएट कंपैटिटिव एडवांटेज। और किसके बेस पर होती है? क्रिटिकल सक्सेस फैक्टर्स के। फर्क सिर्फ ये है कि हम इनको और इन डिस्टिंक्टिव कॉम्पिटेंस और कैपेबिलिटीज़ को लिंक कर रहे हैं। हम कह रहे हैं कि ये तकरीबन एक ही हैं, और जो की सक्सेस फैक्टर्स हैं वो मार्केट में बैठते हैं, जहां से हम कोशिश करते हैं कि मैक्सिमम की सक्सेस फैक्टर्स को हम टारगेट करें। और इसीलिए एक स्ट्रैटेजिस्ट, चाहे वो मार्केटिंग के अंदर हों या स्ट्रैटेजिक एनालिस्ट हों, उनका काम जो होता है वो तकरीबन इन चीज़ों पे पर नज़र रखे होता है कि ही नीड्स टू कंटिन्यूसली look at the changing frames in the environment, the business segment, the segment of the market, and look where the key success factors are changing, and then try and locate the logic of okay, which of the critical factors can we link with the market. Now, this brings me to the end of the lecture, and hopefully in the next, like I said, we will look at the strategic frame of creating the competitive advantage. I've already discussed with you the logical location of the resources which is in the value chain, but then how do these value chain points or the capabilities can be put into the market position? That will be the logic of our next discussion. Thank you very much. Allah Hafiz.